This one is particularly scary to me because let's use our example of I'm not ugly. Go watch our video on thoughts in AI, please. And that particular sentence, what is the most important word? I'm not ugly. Ugly. And even though it's trying to get the point across that you want to feel good about yourself, you're still using a negative term. And what AI is doing is taking that word and relating it to a group of other words that are related. So, what are some synonyms of ugly? Dirty, mean. I'm trying to remember some from the particular image that I'm posting on the screen right now. It's in my mind. But it's also not just inferring, it's not just grouping other words. Next, guys, let's tune in. Today is part 2 of our multiple intelligences discussion, and we will be talking about the fact that AI is based off of some portions of human intelligence and why at least the portion that AI is basing off of the human brain, which some of those aspects are in the subconscious, the importance of you exploring your subconscious. Let's get into it. AI is modeled after human intelligence, but it functions differently. Excelling in logical, linguistic, and data processing tasks while lacking emotional, creative, and intuitive aspects of human condition. It does have multiple intelligences in that it consists of specialized systems rather than single, holistic mind, often lacking specific human mental capabilities. Now, let's just get straight into it. AI intelligence types describes different computational systems that process data, recognize patterns, and generate outputs based on learned statistical relationships. What we will get into first is the different forms of AI itself. We have reactive AI. This is responding only to current input without memory of past interactions. An example, you're playing a game of chess with a computer. You make a move, AI responds to only that move you just made, right? Without any memory. Now, I did play around with chat for a bit on this concept because I usually use chat in a private browser. Downside is that you lose the chat, right? But perks of this method is that it is not using all of the stored chats of you being logged in to generate responses to you. We'll get into why that's important, but I do want to note that even though I recommend you doing the same thing, using chat in a private browser, it is still using certain cookies in your computer. I'll list off what it is using, but that means it's not completely reactive AI, but it's more reactive than you being logged in. Let's continue. We have limited memory AI, uses recent or stored data to improve decisions. And the example is a self-driving car. Now we can think of a self-driving car as pretty miraculous. I know I did when I first saw it. But if you think about it, it's only really 2 functions here, go and stop. Sure, there's other things to account for, like pedestrians and the speed limit, but there's really only 2 functions, and compared to all of the functions that the human mind can do, it seems much less miraculous. Let's continue. We have generative AI, what we use mostly today, ChatGPT, Gemini, right? And also the image generating chats, not sure of those names, but it produces new content based on learned patterns. Now, do I think it produces new content? Not necessarily. Remember, it can only generate something that's in its actual memory. Now, if you give it certain information in your prompt, maybe it can include that. But again, the entire point is that if we go back to the first thing that we read, where does it say it? That AI lacks emotional, creative, the ability to generate new ideas is a form of creativity. I don't think that AI can necessarily come up with something new. That's you specifically speaking to AI about something it hasn't heard. But now it's stored in its database. So for my inventors out there, don't do that. So let's continue on. We have our last but not least form of AI, which is predictive AI, which estimates likely future outcomes based on data patterns. This is your Netflix, what you'll see in your next scroll. Netflix in terms of you watch this movie, so I'm going to now give you this movie, right? All different ways that we are already kind of aware of. If I like certain content, if I watch it, share it, comment, subscribe, I'm going to see more of that content, right? Which is one thing, but I actually want to talk about how much scarier I think it is to actually be chatting with AI. Chatting with AI, you are using words to communicate the way that you are thinking, your learning styles, your cognitive processes, your thinking skills. It is showing the type of intelligence you have. And right, linguistic intelligence is only one type, but we're forced to use language to actually communicate with ChatGPT. So it is understanding the way the human mind works, the way your mind works, according to all of those chats. Now, this is why I would suggest using a private browser, because if it's constantly just mirroring things to you, right? We can have these moments where it's like, hey, can you sound more human or sound more like me? But we are actively aware in that moment. If you are not actively aware in every moment that you're using chat, that it is literally modeling certain words, certain topics that it know you will be interested in based off of the words you're using, right? In the same way of starting a completely new social media page will clear your algorithm. That's essentially what we're trying to do when we use chat on a private browser. You're going to get a vaster amount of information that is not simply based off of everything you've talked about in the past. Essentially reinforcing what you already know, a form of confirmation bias, which is exactly what we're talking about in this channel right now in terms of thoughts, becoming aware of them. We are trying to not have the same thoughts, to understand what's in our database. And this is the scary part, in my opinion, that AI, if it's reinforcing you, on top of your brain reinforcing you, and all of these groups across our lives wanting us to stay the same, to be predictive. Let's get into how AI is learning. AI learning mechanisms are the internal mathematical processes that allow systems to identify patterns in data and improve predictions or outputs over time. Let's get into it. Model biasing, adjusting outputs based on learned probability patterns, right? Suggesting words that would come next. I'm going to show you here. If I type into Google, how do I? It will show me a list of the 10 tops, how do I? AI does it as well. Not to mention that if you are using an iPhone and you start typing, it will start to give you words to complete your sentence. Let's continue. Embeddings, numerical representations of meaning that organize relationship between concepts. Now, this one is particularly scary to me because let's use our example of I'm not ugly. Go watch our video on thoughts in AI, please. And that particular sentence, what is the most important word? I'm not ugly. Ugly. And even though it's trying to get the point across that you want to feel good about yourself, you're still using a negative term. And what AI is doing is taking that word and relating it to a group of other words that are related. So what are some synonyms of ugly? Dirty, mean. I'm trying to remember some from the particular image that I'm posting on the screen right now. It's in my mind. But it's also not just inferring, it's not just grouping other words. Next, we have our latent patterns, which are hidden statistical structures not implicitly labeled in data, inferring emotion from the writing style. Back to the word ugly. If you are using the word ugly, what is it able to gather about you? You're probably insecure, lacking self-confidence, and now based off of what it knows about you, it can imagine the emotions that you are having because of the words you're using. Emotions have a mental portion to them. You use words to express the way that you're feeling. That's one way of expressing emotions, right? And the point is that even though we saw that AI lacks emotional, creative, and intuitive emotional abilities, it doesn't mean that it can't take the mental portion of emotions because it's super efficient in logical, linguistic, and data processing. Bruh. Last but not least is the feedback loops that I was mentioning earlier, reinforcing your decisions. I watched this, so I'm going to see another form of it. Let me read it. Cycles where user behavior influences future outputs. And this is where we get back to the mind. The mind is looking for your past experiences in your current reality. This is why we want to go back to the subconscious to heal these memories, to heal our traumas, look at our beliefs, all of the functions. Go watch that video, please, as well, so that we can stop repeating the same movie, the same script with different people across our lives. I want to get into pattern recognition. I'm pretty good at pattern recognition, if I do say so myself. And I'm going to tell you why. Do I think that there's a spiritual, God-given gift component of this? Sure, I do. But this is in terms of intelligence. So that's what we're going to talk about. Intellectually speaking, the ability to be able to recognize patterns is simply based off of if you've recognized your own, right? And patterns live in the subconscious mind. Go listen to the video to understand how you can access the unconscious material in your brain. Now, if I've done the work on my own patterns, anybody that has patterns that are in my arsenal of my own patterns, I already know the way that they act. I already can predict their behavior. And not only did I do the work on myself, I did the work on the people that are part of the stories and experiences and memories I had. So now I have their patterns also in my database. With me? Now, what's next? Being aware. In The Power of Now, which was our first conversations, Thoughts in AI, I think was our first one. Okay, we are learning to understand that we are not our thoughts, to become aware in the present moment. And what prevents us from usually being present? Yeah, sure, like being busy doing something else, but usually the mind and the fact that we can't shut it off. Now, if you can, and you can be present, and I can be aware enough of my environment, aware enough of the person, their facial expressions, the way that they move, when their mood shifts, and I tracked their patterns over time. Now it's just happening naturally for me, but there are people that literally practice this so that they can prey on people. You must do your homework. Last but not least is our, how much data do you have in your database? And this isn't just any type of data. It's the more diverse your data and the more topics and people and religions, all of these things that you've come across, the more information you have to actually track patterns, not just across literally religions and people themselves and behaviors, but now you have that information to use in any moment. I want to also bring us back to the fact that the unconscious mind processes information at 11 million bits of information per second compared to the conscious mind's 40 bits. So if you've tapped into the unconscious mind, which is essentially a supercomputer, you are processing things a lot faster than most people out here. Now, we've already talked about the fact that AI, its systems are tracking patterns. That is a form of human intelligence that lives in the subconscious mind. Do we see the problem of not just accessing our unconscious mind now? I was already under the impression that this was a scary thing because there are people into dark psychology that look for certain patterns in people to prey on. That's where I was coming from. And now the fact that AI is tracking our patterns, it is literally giving us feedback loops to give us the same information, to essentially give us a form of confirmation bias, which is also impeding on our ability to change. Keeping us the same in a box, predictive, is a way that AI is able to manipulate us and to keep us doing certain behaviors so that they can essentially make money off of us. Right? We gotta wake up. And I'll mention that the best possible thing you can do to start is become aware. I'm aware of this thought, which helps me become aware of my database, which helps me to know which information to unplug from, right? But even when you're using chat, you can say, no, challenge me. No, I don't want to do that. No, I'm going to use a private browser so that it's less based off of my past experiences. It's literally working like the human mind. But if you don't know the human mind, now the human mind is not just working against you here, it's working against you in terms of technology. And think about how fast AI is being embedded across all of the different industries in our lives. So being aware is what breaks the loop, is number one. Number two is the fact that you cannot be predictive. What causes one to be predictive to begin with? If you have certain trauma memories, and the more you share information with other people, the more they can infer why you do what you do and how you would respond, known as the childhood attachment style. Based off of your memories, your relationships with your first caregivers, you are essentially looking to repeat those experiences with the people in your life today until you go heal those memories. Let's use the example, oh, he didn't text me back. You're probably going to feel sad, and then you're going to cry, and then you're going to miss him, and then you're going to text him, and you're going to start chasing him. And whether that person is aware or not they're doing this, it could be subconscious to them as well. You have to understand the ways that you could be manipulated. So, anywho, the last thing I will say to wrap up this lesson is essentially that intelligence is predictive. In the same way that if you have trauma, you are essentially playing by a certain character according to that trauma, which means you're following a script. You're looking for the same experience. And if I've already read the movie, I've already seen it, I know the script, so I know the way that you're going to act. Intelligence is predictive. Intelligence is predictive means that both humans and artificial intelligence work by using past information to anticipate future outcomes. Now, once you heal your trauma, that information actually becomes something to use as information. Until then, it's actually working in the background, impeding your decisions, acting as a lens where you're always searching for that versus being aware when you come across it. That is the difference. When you heal your trauma, what you are able to actually do with the information itself. Please go and start doing this work. Remember, just listening to me, awareness is not enough. You have to start actually doing this work, integrating this material. Go back and listen to Subconscious versus Conscious Mind and Thoughts in AI. Go listen to all of the videos, but in particular for this lesson, those two videos will really help you put some pieces together. And as we continue on, there's levels to this. I'm starting from the bottom. so we could be here. I'm starting from the bottom because there are people that are not aware of the simplest part of this information. I wasn't aware of it. And this content is for everybody. Okay? So stick with me, and I'll see you guys soon. Thank you to my 4 subscribers. I love you. It's very exciting to see my tribe forming. Love you. Okay, I'm out this jam. Thank you, and see you soon.